Welcome back to Cantina Talk. I am with Jared Holsizer.
And I'm here with Ryan.
Ooh boy, we just got out of episode 5, season 2, Mandalorian, chapter 13. Whew, Ahsoka
The
arrives.
Jedi. The
Yes.
Jedi.
Wow. I have a lot of thoughts. I'm sure you do as well.
Yes.
General thoughts starting off. Go.
Oh boy, I love the way that Ahsoka was played in this
Mm.
episode. She's like that very like rogue type, like in the shadows and then strikes. It's amazing.
I'm literally getting goosebumps right now. Yeah, I agree. Episode as a whole, good. Would we
Yes.
agree? Okay, I would
Yes.
go as
Yes.
far to say we're fresh out of it, so my thoughts are going to be different 24 hours from now. Maybe a little bit more calm. But right after that ended, I took a minute. I was talking to my little brother, and we talked, and I think this might be crazy to say, but other than the last hour and a half of The Last Jedi, which I really enjoyed, that's some of my favorite Star Wars. I think this is the best live action Star Wars we've seen since Episode 3. Personally, back in what,
Yeah.
2006?
Hmm.
I mean, and Dave Filoni, who directed this, I mean, we know he did the Clone Wars, we know he did Rebels, which is some of my favorite Star Wars. He can be incredibly arrogant sometimes if you listen to him. He can be very, very, like, Star Wars elitist, like, I know everything, I know how Star Wars runs, but he gets Star Wars, man. He
Hmm.
does. He just knows exactly what notes to hit to make you feel like you're in the world.
Yep. Yep.
And let's start on Ahsoka's appearance. I got a really weird, like, in that first scene where she's dashing through the shadows. You're right, they're taking out this group of people. I got a really intense old Ben vibe from her, which is weird that I got that vibe. It was, or at least it was a very original trilogy vibe.
Yeah.
Like episode 4 through 6 type of movement. The way that her blades were, it felt like that her lightsabers had a little bit of weight to them, rather than in episodes 1 through 3 they were just weightless and you could flip around and do all this stuff. It felt very real, I guess.
Yeah. Hmm.
And now that I think about it more, it feels a lot like Episode 6 Vader, the way that she moved, the way that she attacked. Just kind of like, and the clunkiness isn't the word, but the way that it felt like a real person flipping around, like what it would look like if a real person flipped around and
Yeah.
tried to
Yeah.
swing lightsabers.
I totally agree. It felt like she was, yeah, like really there, actually fighting with the
Right.
lightsabers, which was really cool.
Right. Now we get into this debacle that she has with this planet of Corvus, which I really liked. That, I mean, Star Wars, so often you just see a sand planet, and I kind of like that. Honestly, I like the idea that, like, hey, if you're a planet in Star Wars, you're gonna have one terrain, and that's gonna be your planet. It's gonna be an ocean planet, and I better not see any forests in my ocean planets in Star Wars. And I like that they kind of got around that trope in this episode by going, yes, this was a forest planet. It was a forest planet, but it got burned, so now it's this dilapidated, almost wasteland-like area, unless you can find the pockets of life that still remain there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like this planet a lot. Now, what were your feelings on the ones that resided inside this place? Our two villains, the Enforcer Lang was the guy, and then Magistrate Morgan Elsbeth was the girl.
Kind of confused. I didn't really know who they were
Right.
and why they were just like ruling over this little civilization. I mean, I guess my answers, my questions got answered in the episode, but
Right.
like, I don't know. I felt like Mando hit the enforcer laying. He's definitely military, from what Mando said.
Yeah.
Which that's the vibe I got once I saw him, like a general or something,
Right.
of like a little fleet of people. So, and then Mag, can't say that. Morgan
Magister.
Els
Magistrate.
Magister
Magistrate.
She seemed like she was like I don't know. I got the vibe that she was like a force user of some sort, but she
Hmm.
didn't use it.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I got heavy as we saw last season 1 felt like gunslinger western vibes. I think some of this season has as well. This episode to me, again, props to Dave Filoni for knowing what Star Wars was originally based on. Star Wars was originally based on the Seventh Samurai, and the Hidden Fortress, by Kurosawa, and this felt like samurais to me, this episode. Like the kind of the shoulder garb of one of the droids, the way that everyone conducted themselves in that city, the regalness of everything. I don't know. I like, especially seeing Ahsoka in that city with the swinging lanterns. I was just like, whoa, this feels like samurai a lot to me, and I was totally for it. I mean, like I said, man, I really liked this episode, and I liked Enforcer Lang. I really like his question near the end of who he thinks is gonna win. I just kind of was like, I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
He's being, I would have actually liked it better if he wouldn't have tried to pull the gun out on Mando. If he would have tried to been like, hey, I don't think my side's gonna win this one. I'm gonna leave, and I'm gonna make Mando shoot me in the back if he really wants to kill me. But I don't know. I liked that moment of just sitting outside like, who do you think's gonna take this one? And then they're just listening to the sounds. And we'll get to the child here in a second, but I also was very surprised. Now, this magistrate Morgan Elsbeth was from the Clone Wars. She kind of is like they said, kind of like she does this. She comes in and she takes over planets. I don't remember her from the Clone Wars or Episode 2, so if anyone remembers her, and I even gave her a little Goog, and I couldn't find anything on my Google search, but please drop it in the chat if you know who this is. Again, I've seen the Clone Wars twice, but my memory, I can't remember every small character, right? Yeah, I dug that town a lot. I think this episode was near perfect.
Yeah.
Very near perfect. I had one small problem, which is just more of a problem with the show, and it's that Mando is flying. The worlds seem small because Mando is just flying into a planet looking for one person, and he happens to find them the second he touches down. And I always just kind of am like, all right. I mean, you're going to this forest planet, you fly there, you land, the closest city, the Jedi's there, and it's kind of like, okay. Or like, back on the other planets, it was the same thing of like, well, when you land, someone will know something. And I get that you got to drive the plot forward. We can't have Mando sitting on a planet, but it's just starting to feel like I guess it's a very
repetitive.
Yes, it's a very Disney way to do a show. Of like, well, fate is gonna put you right next to where you need to be, and it's like, all right, that's fine. Now we can dive into the child's name. We finally can stop calling him the child or Baby Yoda.
Yes.
Thank God. Grogu.
Grogu, yes. Now the question is, are they gonna rebrand all their the child named
I didn't even think about that.
toys and stuff?
Right. I imagine that they would start doing that season 3 or maybe for the holidays. I wonder if this is a push for the holidays. But yeah, you're right. What are they going to do about that? I think you got to start using Grogu. I actually like that name.
Yeah, I like that name too.
Okay, we're going to dive into
it. And we got a little bit of backstory
yes!
from him too.
Yeah, go over that.
I don't quite totally remember, but he was trained by some Jedis in a temple, and then did they get overrun or something?
Well, Order 66, right? So Order 66 happened, and he was hid.
Yeah, he was hidden, and then somebody picked him up, and then he like kind of loses his memory about what happened after that.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, that's exciting. I right when they said that he was hidden, I have this weird vision of the Anakin slaughtering the younglings and the child just being in the corner like, oh, like what's going on? Like peering through like two things in a closet, just looking at all these kids getting killed, and this child's like, oh, what's going on? But I just had that vision. I was like, oh no, that's so sad. Oh, poor Grogu. I think it's so I'm interested. I have a lot of questions. I like the name Grogu. We don't know the name. We know that two of the names of the species is Yoda and Yaddle. So I like that they didn't name it Yaddle or something. But
Yeah.
I think Grogu kind of it fits. It's cute. But yeah, he was trained by Jedi at the temple. That's big. I think. Well, I know that's big. Now we can go into Grogu and the training session. What did you think about that?
I think it's cool that Mando's the only one that has a specific bond to him,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to where he's the one that draws the force out of him.
Right. Yeah, I'd like that, but I'm curious if that has been a precedent in Star Wars because Ahsoka says it as if it's Jedi lore that the one who has a bond trains you, and that's not really how it's been. I mean, you look at Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and they did not get along.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just early on in the child's life that has to be the case, but even then, like, you would see Yoda training the younglings, or you would see Obi-Wan training the younglings, and Yoda would come in for a lesson. And I always kind of thought it was almost like a school, where rather than having like, okay, we'll find out who your mentor is just based on who your bond is. But I guess that's just the proof that we don't know a whole heck of a lot about how the Jedi operated, or Episode 1 era.
Yeah. And plus we don't. I mean, this could be like a race thing for like
Right?
he's a child that
That's so
only
true.
bonds with one, and once he bonds with that one has to train him.
Right, especially since the M count or the metachlorine count's so high in the child that maybe that is the case when you get kids. Oh, maybe because you notice how in Anakin, who had an incredibly high metachlorine count, it was tough for him to get trained. So
Yeah.
I wonder if that is the case when you get to such strong beings that they have to latch on to one thing. Well, that's good headcanon for us. We'll keep that. But man, I love again going back to Ahsoka. I love the way that she is patient, and it made me realize. I mean, just the scene of her. I love any moment that shows a master Jedi being calm in a situation. I don't know why I like that, but in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, when they're on Naboo and the the weird red shields are up.
Oh
I think
yeah.
I've showed you this scene. If you go back and
Yes.
watch that moment where it's Darth Maul, Obi-Wan, and Qui-Gon Jinn in three different of the phones ringing. But in when you're in between those, when they're in between those deflector shields, you see Darth Maul's. He's angry. He's like chopping at the bits. He's very anxious. He's on his feet. He's dancing back and forth. You look at Obi-Wan, who is just. If I'm correct, I think he's just standing there breathing, doing.
No.
What is he doing?
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
No. Obi-Wan. I believe Obi-Wan's anxious as well. He's got his lightsaber out. He's ready to run and attack.
Right. Yeah.
And then
Thank you.
and then it's Qui-Gon Jinn that's just sitting. He literally sits down and meditates.
Yes, that's it. So thank you. Yeah, because I haven't seen that in a while. But yeah, and Obi-Wan's anxious. Darth Maul's angry, ready.
Yeah. He's ready.
And Qui-Gon's calm. He's sitting.
Yeah, he sits down. He like puts his lightsaber away, sits down,
Right.
and meditates.
Yeah, I mean that is like when I literally again I got goosebumps thinking about that moment. I love that when you see a Jedi, and then you see the Mandalorian pacing back and forth. And then Ahsoka's just sitting there looking at him. And in my mind, they had been sitting there for an hour or whatever, right? Like I like the idea that Ahsoka sat down, looked at Grogu, and just sat and watched for an hour, and then the Mando's like, "What are you doing?"
Well,
You know?
I mean, I felt like they were communicating.
Yeah,
during that
yeah,
time.
yeah, definitely. It's interesting. She said that Grogu has been able to understand the whole time, but I guess he's just Mando hasn't really tried to care too much is the reason that he hasn't followed directions.
Yeah, he hasn't tried to connect with him.
Right.
Like that.
So I really like the beautiful look of Ahsoka sitting with the lantern and the moon behind her. I mean, when I tell you that this is one of my favorite episodes, some of the best live action I've seen since Episode 3, that image, there's images that are already for me iconic in this episode. Like her sitting there with the lantern and Grogu and the moon behind them. That's in my brain, and it sat and it lingered there for a moment, but I stared at this like, this is really happening. And then the moment of her standing all the way across in that city, and the lanterns are swinging, and she looks like a samurai who just appeared there. I mean, oh my gosh, dude, I loved this episode. But trying to stay on course, do you think, because we've got more to talk about, do you think that this is are we excited for a different TV show is my question. Because I don't think they're going over this, especially when you get to names like, spoiler alert, Admiral Thrawn, hello. When you get to names like that, I think that this is a different TV show that we're looking at.
You mean...
I don't think we see Ahsoka again in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I think in 2 months we get a announcement that the Ahsoka Tano TV show is casting.
Oh, is that what you're saying? Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't think this is getting wrapped up in The Mandalorian. I don't think it's The Mandalorian's business.
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah. I think it'd probably be smart for them to do that, right?
Right.
So many people would watch that.
Oh, yeah. And I actually, at the end of the episode, I mean, there's been rumors of an Ahsoka Tano TV show for a long time. I was hoping the child was going to go with her. I thought that would make that show more interesting, and then the Mandalorian could actually focus on the Darksaber, finding Mandalorians, reuniting his clan, stuff like that, right? Rather than, not being stuck with the child, but going on this Jedi adventure where I don't think he really belongs. But that's what we've got, which I'm okay with. So yeah, I think definitely a Ahsoka Tano TV show coming soon. Now we can talk about Admiral Thrawn.
Who's that again?
So Admiral Thrawn is a Chiss. He's a blue-skinned Chiss who... I can look up a picture just for you. Anyone at home, please look him up. He's in Rebels. I've read 2 of the novels they're based on him. He is pretty much a race of super intelligent beings who left the galaxy and lived in the Outer Rim. And he, being super intelligent, came back to the galaxy after getting kicked out of his clan, pretty much. And he joined, and he rose in the ranks of the Empire because Emperor Palpatine saw how intelligent he was and was like, "Oh, you need to be a part of this." So there's 3 novels, 4th is on the way about him. He interacts with Anakin a lot. In the TV show The Rebels, he is so calm and calculated. And the spoiler for Rebels, so skip ahead 30 seconds if you don't want to know what happens to Rebels, but him and the main character in Rebels are shot off into outer space, and actually Ahsoka Tano goes looking for them. And this is presumably after they come back. So I am curious where Ezra is, but we won't talk about Rebels too much because I don't want to spoil a heck of a lot of that. And now probably 30 seconds is gone, so no more spoilers for Rebels. But yeah, Admiral Thrawn makes this Ahsoka Tano show that's hopefully coming my number 1 most anticipated thing in Star Wars, even over the next films, I think, if this show is really happening.
Yeah.
All right, last point I want to hit here is the story we've got coming up ahead of us. So Grogu is to be brought to Scython, the planet Scython. We're gonna look it up right now. This is something I wanted to look up before the show and I didn't. Oh, Chthon, Scython. Oh no, that's a species there. Here, we're getting to it. Trying to get to it. Maybe that's it just sounds familiar.
Planet.
But Tython. Was it Tython? They might have said Tython. They probably did.
Yeah.
Okay, Tython was a planet in the Tython system of the deep core that played a pivotal role in the history of the Jedi, which is the J-E''DAII, so the ancient Jedi Order, and its successor, the Jedi Order. Verdant world that was incredibly rich in the Force. So, okay, so it's a Force-sensitive planet?
Yeah, and... I guess she's supposed to bring Like, I'm gonna get the name wrong for so long till I can remember it. Grogu.
Grogu. Yeah, there you go.
To this ancient Jedi temple on that planet and rise him to or bring him to the top of the temple,
Wow, yeah.
and he'll bring the Force in and choose his path.
Something really interesting now that I'm here on the Star Wars fandom that I think we might have found something here. Maybe, maybe not. Tython was inhabited by an unknown species hundreds of thousand years before the rise of the Galactic Empire.
Unknown species.
Could this species be that of the child?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it could be. What if this is the home world? That would make sense. Why they're so force sensitive.
Come off of a Force.
Right.
Playing it.
Of course, back then it wasn't the light and the dark side. It was the Ashla and the Bogan, which that's why I named my dog Ashla after that. But that's really interesting. I actually had a different theory of, because they say if you come here and he chooses the Force, which is really interesting that he has to choose the Force, then a Jedi could seek him out, Grogu out.
Yes.
Okay, so first off, I'm going to go ahead and throw the theory out there right now so that if I'm right, I sound super smart, that I think this is going to be the homeworld of that species. I think they're going to be hiding there. Secondly, I think he's going to reach out to the Force, and I think a Jedi is going to come to them. I want to hear, if you had to pick one Jedi that is alive during, episode 6 and 7, who do you think would reach out to Grogu? And I've got a theory that I'm excited about.
Jedi that's still alive?
Yes.
Obi-Wan's not alive, is he?
No, this is post episode 4. Okay. So
I bet. Oh, it's gonna be Rey.
I don't think it would be Rey because this is before Rey even realizes she's force sensitive. Before episode 6 or 7, pardon me.
Luke.
It could be Luke, could be Leia. We know that Leia is trained in the Force at this time, or training in the Force. I think they gave us a hint here in this episode. I think if someone's going to reach out to Grogu, it's going to be the person that trained him. And now there are not very many people left alive after Order 66 that are direct descendants. However, there is one person, one Jedi, that could have survived, that I have been saying is going to come back into Star Wars for a very long time. In season 3.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Mace Windu is my guess.
Mace Windu, yes.
What if Mace Windu? Because we're going down a rabbit hole here on Cantina Talk, but please stay with us. Mace Windu apprentice. What if he trained? Okay, that's right. Deepa Bilaba. Okay, I actually knew that. So Deepa Bilaba was his apprentice, but who's to say that he can't also drop in and train Grogu, right? Now we also know. Ooh, okay. Now my theory brain's gonna keep running. We also know that Mace Windu was one of the first people to hear that Anakin was turning to the dark side, right? He in fact went to go to Palpatine to stop Palpatine, right? What if before he does that, he goes to the younglings and he hides Grogu? He knows something's about to go down. He can, he's not, Yoda feels it in the Force. He just had his talk with Anakin. Anakin's going to go talk to him. But Mace Windu says, this is not going to go right. I have to go stop Palpatine myself. So what he does is, but first, I need to go hide my apprentice. Or my youngling, or whatever it is. And he goes and he hides Grogu. Somewhere, I don't know where. And then he goes to face Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
Is that possible? Then he obviously gets kicked out. He goes in hiding somewhere, maybe in search of Grogu, and then all of a sudden he gets a ping in the Force or something saying, "Hey, Grogu's still alive. He just reached out through the Force. Go to this planet." That would be very exciting.
Yes, that would be insane.
And I feel like Mandalorian has been the show that says, "Hey, you know that crazy thing that would be crazy if we did? We're doing it."
We're doing it, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I just hope they keep this a secret is my thing. Imagine if you didn't know until the episode aired. But I just hope that, 6 months beforehand, it's not like, oh, Mace Windu just Samuel L. Jackson just tweeted that, a purple lightsaber. you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, great, you know, like I don't
Yeah.
want that. I want in watching the episode, your jaw to hit the floor type of a moment. All right. Well, I mean,
Now,
that was a
I
yeah. Go
have
ahead.
a question.
Yeah,
Do you think this is Yoda's child?
I still don't.
You don't think it's Yoda and
No, Yoda's
Yaddle's
not supposed to
kid?
take lovers, and Yoda was like the perfect Jedi. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, because the Jedi Code forbids it, right? Maybe
Yeah.
three. I mean, we know Yoda's 900 years old. Maybe 250 years ago, that was not part of the Jedi lore, and he did it. You know, but no, but the child's only 50 years old. See, I don't think so, because that would mean that Yoda and Yaddle would have to break the Jedi Code, bang, and then have a child without the Council knowing.
Yeah.
I think that Yoda wouldn't do that, but I could be wrong. I would be disappointed if he did. And then also, if this child's still alive, then why is he not telling Luke? I mean, in episode 4, he says, you know, when Obi-Wan says our hope is lost, he says, no, there is another. You should have said, nah, there's 2 more. One of them's my kid. You know.
Yeah.
But
True.
or maybe that's the one he was talking about, but obviously we know that's Leia. So I don't know, that it could be. I think that would be a stretch, and I think it would piss off a lot of Star Wars fans that thought Yoda was the perfect
Jedi. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think we've got just about all of this covered. This is my favorite episode of The Mandalorian, the entirety of the TV show. I mean,
Yeah.
it's gotta be. From everything that I really enjoyed that city. Anytime you stepped in that city, I felt like I was transported to some space samurai town. And Ahsoka was everything I wanted her to be. Visually, her.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know about visual.
See, here's the thing. I know that on Twi'leks they're called Lukes. I don't know if it's Star Wars racist to call them Lukes as well. But the little hair things that she has come down.
Those are clearly foam.
They clearly were, and that was weird to me to see. I mean, on the screen right now, there's moments of her dancing around, and they moved a lot more in the animated show. They never moved like a Quarren's mouth, like on its own, kind of like, you know, crawling across the air. But they danced a lot more than they did in this episode. They were very stiff, and they even had a couple wrinkles in it. Which I don't think at the end. Maybe that's showing her age. Supposed to show her age, but it almost looked like someone had dropped the foam prosthetic on the way to set or something. But maybe that was supposed to, because we've never seen those wrinkles
Before, really.
yet. But then again, we haven't seen her in probably about a couple of years. So, but I doubt that would come in just a couple of years. So that was interesting. But as the episode went on, I actually started thinking it looked a lot better. It was originally I went, oh, like seeing her run around, I was like, oh, interesting. But as the episode went on, I was like, oh, okay, I can dig this. Yeah, that's fine. It's starting to look a little more natural when I saw her in different lighting and stuff like that. All right, well, this is a 10 out of 10 episode for me. I think this is my favorite episode of The Mandalorian. I think it's also going to be very tough for The Mandalorian to top this. Just because I don't think Ahsoka's coming back. And I think that Dave Filoni's probably going to be hard work on something else. But I want a Dave Filoni everything at this point. Give me a Dave Filoni movie. Give me a Dave Filoni TV show. You know, I want to clone him. Dave Filoni Army. just to produce a bunch of Star Wars content.
That's funny.
How many... Oh, and also something I kind of wanted to go over real quick. Small thing is last episode we were talking about how we didn't really like the or I didn't really like the over explaining of the Star Wars technology that we were getting. This episode is a perfect example. Like the cages that you have that shock people, that the city uses, they didn't need to go up to you and go, so these are, these are punishment binds, and we do these, and this is the technology behind them. They were there, they existed. I'm sure that if I wanted to go online in a week and find out what technology that is, I could. And I understood how they worked, right? Like, that's how I want my Star Wars technology to be. Just living in the world. And then if I want to seek it out, I will go seek it out, rather than it being like explained to me.
Explained.
Yeah, just the smallest weird stuff in the background is getting explained in front of my face. So I think that's again Dave Filoni's confidence that, you know, he's Star Wars king right now. He is quite literally. I know a lot of people don't like saying this. They don't like to put him on a pedestal. I think he's George Lucas 2.0. And I know people are going to... If anyone is actually listening to this podcast, there's not a whole lot of people do. People are not going to like me saying that. But I think George sometimes didn't really know what he was doing. And I think Dave Filoni understands Star Wars. Maybe... I mean, George has even said this, that Dave Filoni understands Star Wars better than George does. All right. What's your score for this episode as we wrap up?
I'll probably get a solid 9.5.
Right on. Right on.
Yeah.
What did you not love about it then, real quick? What's barring your 10?
Her hair, dude. I couldn't get past it. Every time I saw her, I'd look directly at the wrinkles.
So would I. It took me out a little bit. At the last 10 minutes of the episode, I kind of forgot about it, but yeah, it was interesting. Yeah.
But aside from that, I love this episode. It was a good episode.
Right on. All right. Well, thanks for joining us here again at Cantina Talk. We'll be back next week for episode 6. I'm hoping that things speed up here. I hope we get the mountaintop scene of Grogu reaching out to the Force. I hope that's in our finale. I hope that's not a season 3, season 4 moment. But we shall see. Until then, thank you for joining us, and may the Force be with you.
Always and forever.